graduated from the Glasgow School of Art. I'm from Oban, which is a small village on the west coast of Scotland. I'm doing my Masters in Glasgow, which is Heriot Watt University down in the Borders. I've done textiles now for about 5 years and specialised in weaving for 3 of them. So I come from a very creative and musical family, so I've always been encouraged to sort of be quite creative in that way. When I was young, I used to make scrapbooks and sort of like little magazines for my parents, because my dad works offshore, so I used to make little things for him coming back. So I've always sort of done sketchbook work since I was a little girl, and my mum is also very creative, and she always does. She always used to do upholstery and make things, and my dad used to do woodwork, and he used to make things in his shed, and I'd go to his shed, so yeah. So for the tartan, I started designing the tartan during, I was locked down in Glasgow, so I was treating Glasgow like I was sort of a tourist. I was walking about Great Western Road, which is the street that I live in Glasgow, taking photos of texture, colour, shape, and just trying to look at that as a source of inspiration. Looking at it with a new pair of eyes since I hadn't actually been out of the house. So I started to use the colours from the brief, but then interpret them with a little bit of sort of like geometric shape and probably subconsciously a slight Charles Rennie Mackintosh influence as well. So being from Oban and being a Campbell, I've always had tartan around me. Like whenever there's a special occasion or a special event, my family will always wear tartan, like a Campbell tartan. And also being in the West Coast, if you were to visit hotels or any sort of cafe or restaurant, there is often a lot of tartan within the building or within the interiors. So I am quite familiar with tartan. I think wool for me it's a very ethical material, and it's also very versatile. So you can use it within weave, but you can also use it within fashion and interiors. I also have grown up around wool. My grannies were both knitters, so I've always been a fan of using wool, and I think in this day and age it's important to sort of promote using wool. And yeah, my grannies have always knitted those scratchy woolly jumpers and socks that you would wear as a little girl. Personal design style is quite bold, quite colourful. I really like to explore textures, and I like to use different materials to create textures. I quite like to promote a sort of positive atmosphere within my work. I'd like to think that it brings somebody joy when they're looking at it. But yeah, a very hard focus on colour, texture, pattern, and just making it quite busy, maybe quite a maximal person. Yeah, quite abstract as well, but with a narrative, I'd like to think. So I think winning this competition was a bit of a positive light on quite a hard year for everybody, but within the textiles it was just, when graduating there was a sort of, nobody talks about the postgraduate life, and this for me was just like the start of quite an exciting adventure. So, and it's been so nice to come down and see how the woven carpet is actually made from like my designs to a carpet. So for me this has been very positive, a bit of a confidence boost. So I think throughout my design I've always wanted to either think about recycle and reuse. So throughout my designs I've always used waste materials to work with, and then when designing for this brief it was obviously very important to think about using wool and think about sustainability, and there is ways that you can promote using sustainable materials within textiles, not just interiors but fashion as well. And I think right now with my generation of designers, I think a lot of people have a different mindset on how that we design. So for me it's always a big part of my design process, and I would like to think it would continue that as I develop as a designer, because it is an important factor right now. So throughout the summer I I've obviously been working with alternative flooring for this competition. I also am currently doing a Masters in Fashion and Textiles with industry placement, so I'll be doing that until the summer of 2022, so that'll be what I'm focusing on at the moment. I've also been taking part in little placements and internships here and there. I was doing a placement for Hallmark, and there's a couple of sort of theatre works and set design projects that in Glasgow that I'm interested in as well, because I do quite enjoy the editorial side of the whole textiles design as well. So I really do like alternative flooring. I've always been a fan of the geometric styles of carpets that they've done, and I also am a big fan of the visuals that they do with the little people and all the sort of aesthetics of the promoting of the brand. So yeah, I've always been a big fan of the mixture as well. There's not just geometrics now, there's tartans. I think it's got a very broad variety of styles.